She painted today. Ooh. Damn. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emmy, and today I have another video in my videos of the Mental Health Awareness Week that I have on my channel. For those of you who don't know, as of Monday, I started uploading videos on my channel in regards to topics regarding mental health. On Monday, I talked about my experience with mental health. On Tuesday, I spoke about the saboteur, or the internal voice that ruins everything. On Wednesday, yesterday, I talked about what it is like to live with someone who has mental health issues, and a little bit of tips and tricks for people who are living with a partner or someone who's dealing with the mental health and what they can do. Today's video, what I want to talk about is related to mental health, but in a different way. I'm not going to be talking specifically about like anxiety or panic or depression, but more like things that affect mental health in general, especially to those of us who are already in our 30s. If you hear some noises, I apologize. I have the fan, and also my neighbor upstairs makes a lot of weird noises. I apologize. So, essentially what I wanted to talk about was the current race to success that a lot of people that are young, especially in their 20s, seem to experience, and how does that translate to those of us who are already in our 30s. This particular topic was inspired by a video from Nathan Zed. I'll put who is the creator of the Good Enough movement, so shout out to him. And essentially in his video, he just talked about how a lot of young people like him, like people in college or in their mid-20s or late 20s, when they go onto social media or they see other people, how they're like, oh, I'm only 25 and I have a house and all this stuff. Like, the expectation of what young people are supposed to do these days is really high, and when you're not meeting those expectations, how that can affect you. So essentially I want to talk about that, but more in the sense of like, well, now you're no longer in your 20s, you're in your 30s, now what? You know, and also how that can affect your mental health, because it absolutely does. You know, all these expectations and these things that you see on social media, you know, how you translate them to your life and you're like, oh my God, I'm not even close to that. Obviously it's going to affect you in one way or another. And if you have mental health issues, like if you suffer from anxiety or panic or depression, those things can absolutely affect you. So basically he talks about how when you go into Instagram and you go to people's pictures, right, you're always seeing people succeeding, right? Because obviously when you're taking a picture of something and you're putting it for social media, you're putting it out there for everyone to see and for everyone to judge. You're giving people the opportunity and also the freedom to judge you in whatever way they see fit, because it's the internet, and that's what happens when you open yourself up on the internet. You give people the opportunity to point things. So because of that, most of the time, if not all the time, all you see on the internet is the good stuff. You know, you're always going to see people getting promoted, doing good at their job, getting money, having children, getting married, you know, they close on their house, or they have a really nice clothes and they bought new shoes and they bought a new body, whatever. Like, you're always going to see the good things on social media. Never are you ever going to see somebody post something bad unless it's like a meme, it's a joke. But very rarely are you going to see somebody go, oh, well, you know, I foreclosed on my house today, bummer. I think that was literally like one of the examples that Nathan gave in his video. It's like, you're not going to see people on the internet post whenever they're going through something bad. Some people may allude to it, like they put like a moody black and white picture and they go, insert the sad caption here. Like, some people do that, especially on Facebook. They're like, they well, it's kind of like subtweeting, but it's not subtweeting because it's on Facebook. So sub-Facebooking, you know, and they put like, you think that you know people, but you really don't. And then people comment, oh, what's going on? And they're like, don't worry about it. And it's like, bitch, so then why did you post it in the first place if you didn't want people to talk about it? People are never going to put their negative stuff out there. So then what happens? Okay, so then you have your Instagram and you're looking at your feed, and now you're looking at is good stuff, positive stuff, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff, good life, good life. And then you inevitably, because you're human, you're going to compare yourself to that, and you're going to look at your own life and say, okay, well, if I were to post an Instagram post today, what would it be like? How would my picture fit into the timeline of my Instagram feed? And you're always going to find yourself feeling inadequate. You're always going to find yourself being like, well, I'm not going to put a picture that's going to fit in my timeline because I don't have any of these things that these other people have. I don't have all these successes, all these amazing things that other people seem to be having. Why is it that everyone is having the good stuff except for me? And then what happens with that kind of mentality is that when you do have good things, when good things do happen to you, then either you don't notice them, or you take them for granted, or you are unsatisfied, you know? Because you become unsatisfied because it's not as good, it's not as big as it was for the other person. Like, yes, I got promoted, but guess what? The other person is a CEO, so who's going to get more likes on Instagram? The person who has their own business, or someone who got promoted in somebody else's company and still has a boss, you know? So if you continue to look at other people's successes and other people's just social media, you're never going to be satisfied with what you have and what you're doing, because everybody else is always going to be better. You know, their filters are always going to be so much better. You know, their life is going to be edited in a way that is going to look so much better than yours. But that's what people need to realize, is that Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, those are edited versions of someone's life. You know, if anybody watches YouTube and they watch daily vloggers, for example, there's a lot of people that they record their whole day, every day of their life. But when they upload a video, the video is only 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And it's not that video that they only recorded 10 minutes of their day, is that they edit it down to 10 minutes. So you are only seeing a finished product. You're only seeing what they're allowing you to see. You're not seeing the reality of their entire day, because guess what? That'll be boring as fuck. Or you're going to see things that maybe not fall in line with what the persona that they're trying to give. So I think that for a lot of us at this point of our life, when we turn 30 and we see all these amazing things that other people that are younger are doing, we can't help but feel like failures. You know, we can't help to look down on ourselves and go, oh my God, what did I do with my time? Why is it that I'm at this age and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing at 30? Why is it that I don't have what I'm supposed to have while I'm 30? And now there's this really toxic mentality that I see on social media that once you reach 30, it's like you're dead. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to be 30. And I didn't do 30 things before 30, so fuck me, right? And it sucks because, you know what happens when the clock hits midnight and you go from 29 to 30? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You are exactly the same person, standing in the exact amount of space that you were before. It's the same thing when people when people go from 19 to 20, they're like, oh my god, my teens, it's over. What happens to you? Nothing. When you go from 19 to 20, nothing happens to you. You still can't drink, you know. So it's like, it doesn't matter. And you know, when people turn 25 and they got that quarter life crisis and they're like, oh my god, I'm 25, and then you turn 25 and then you turn 26, 27, 28, and what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. Age is nothing but a number. You know, age is not supposed to be a deterrent, and it's not supposed to be something like, well, I'm this age, therefore I'm only supposed to do this. It's bullshit. It's this old school, old traditional way of thinking. Like back in the days for our parents, you know, they were getting married and having children by the time they were 18. It's like, that's not something that is viable into it in 2018. You know, there's no set age for you to have a good relationship. There's no set age for you to get married. And now with the way that technology is and the way that people are aging and everything, especially for women, I don't really believe that there's this set age for you to have children. That it's like, oh, you have to have children by 35, otherwise you're dried up and it's over and you can never have children. It's like, bitch, explain Janet Jackson. Explain Jennifer Lopez. Explain Mariah Carey. Of course, we are talking about women with a lot of money, but I feel like whatever they did to have their child is going to become something that is going to be accessible for everybody in the next couple of years. Technology keeps moving, and so should you. You know, people need to get rid of that nasty mentality of like, once you reach a certain age, that life stops for you. It doesn't. Life carries on. Maybe you can't do certain things like you could before. You know, you're not, maybe not as fast, as limber, but you know, your priorities change too. Like, where are you going with so much hurry? I'll take an Uber there. I'll meet you there. Also, a lot of times we get tied up into these old school expectations. Like I was saying before, how like if by the time that you're 30 you're not married with children and a job, then it's like, well, what did you do with your 20s? Now if you speak to a 20-year-old, the majority of them are like, marriage, children, career, what? Like, none of those things make any sense to a 20-year-old. Why would anyone between the ages of 20 and 29 be thinking about marriage and children? People talk about having kids like having kids is just a normal thing. Oh yeah, pop a kid. You know that, you know, childhood, having a baby is not just being pregnant for 9 months. You know that an actual human being is going to come out of you, and you are responsible for this human's well-being for the rest of their life. And whatever happens to this creature, it's your fault. You are 100% responsible for that. Like, people, I think people don't get how big of a deal that is. And they think that, and especially for women, you know, we're always like people who have vaginas, people who have reproductive organs. You know, we're always constantly told like, but you're supposed to have kids. But you're supposed to have kids. But you're supposed to have kids. And it's like, no. My worth isn't determined by how many kids I pop out of my cooch. Like, that doesn't make me a woman. You know? Like, so all those things where we grow up with those things, we grow up with these expectations that other people have put on us. And then by the time we reach this our age in the 30s and we don't have those things, that's why a lot of us develop so many mental health issues. Like a lot of people in their 30s develop depression, develop anxiety, develop all these things, because all that weight, you know, you kind of wake up and you realize that you've been carrying all this weight for so long. And then when you see that other people are doing it, you start to compare yourself and you start to say, well, why couldn't I do any of those things? But the thing is that who's telling you that you can't still do those things? Like, okay, maybe you didn't have a kid when you were in your 20s. Why can't you have a kid now? assuming that you can and you want to, because that's another thing. People talk to us about children and are constantly bombarding you with the idea of having children as if you want them or as if you can have them. And I think that's really fucked up, because there's a lot of people out there who can't have children, and people are constantly telling them how if you don't have a kid, you're worthless. And it's like, fuck, well, I can't, so am I a worthless human being? Well, guess what? And that's fucked up. So, and I know that men also go through the same thing, because maybe not in the same scale as women, obviously, but they still do go through the pressure of like, well, if by a certain age you haven't established yourself, you know, you haven't gotten a career with an X amount of money, and you don't have a good wife or partner, and you don't have children, then what are you doing with your life? And it's like, but there's so much more to life than just that. You know, there's so many other things that you can accomplish in your life that are fulfilling, that don't have to do with all these old school expectations. You just have to find out what it is, you know, and rid yourself of all this other stuff that people are telling you that you should have, because you're never going to be happy by wanting to make other people happy. Because at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about you, bro. Literally, no one. So, you know, if nobody cares about you, then you need to care about yourself. And that's pretty much it. That's the truth, tea, girl. What happens when you are constantly comparing yourself in this world of social media, it, like I was saying before, and I kind of want to touch on that again, about how when you live in the moment, in other people's moments, and you're not living in your moment, the things that happen to you, they go over your head, and you don't appreciate them as much, and you don't enjoy them as much, because you're constantly comparing them to the successes of others. So, for example, if you got promoted at your job, you know, your situation could be that you've been at that job for only 6 months, and you're doing so great that your boss was like, you deserve a promotion, and you get a pay grade, you know, your money increases and everything. And that's an amazing thing. Most of the time, people don't get promoted in their positions for years, you know, let alone a year, let alone 6 months. So that in itself for you could be an amazing accomplishment. But then you see that somebody else on Instagram goes, oh, you know, I just made manager, you know, a position that's above yours. Hard work, success, the hustle never stops, hashtag grind forever, blah, blah, blah. But that person probably has been in that company for 10 years, and now is it that they just made manager. But guess what? You wouldn't know that. So if you compare those two things, like you getting a promotion to whatever is after yours for 6 months, and them getting a promotion after 10 years, you do the maths. I'm not good at maths. But like, if you look at it that way, obviously you're doing something very well. You're doing something good because you showed your worth in a smaller amount of time than they did. And hey, you might reach their position in like a year, and they might still be in the same place after a year, and then you go over them. But the thing is that we don't see those things because we're constantly blinded with the reality of other people, you know. And I'm not gonna be one of those people that's gonna be like, turn off your phone, you know, look up, always looking down, you're gonna get a hunch. I don't believe in none of that. I don't subscribe to none of that bullshit. You know, this is 2018. Technology is where it's at. It would be stupid for you not to, for you to be ignorant to the changes in technology. I don't think it's a good idea, regardless of your age, to be completely ignorant to all of the new developments when it comes to social media and everything. Because, you know, being ignorant is not, I mean, they say ignorance is bliss, but you know, then when something bad happens and you're like, what happened? You know, I don't subscribe to that idea, but at the same time, I think that it will only help you, especially if you're someone my age and you're constantly being bombarded with all these expectations of what you should have done. I think it's a good idea for you to find a balance in your consumption of social media and kind of see things for what they are. You know, just look at a picture of a person who has a really cute body and just say, that girl has a really nice body. Next. And not be like, oh my God, how did this girl who is exactly my age, who lives exact lifestyle that I do, has that kind of body? And why do I look so disgusting? Like, you can't do that, because obviously you're not going to know the answer unless you ask that person and say, hey, how did you get that body? And they tell you, lipo. Or they're going to tell you, you know, well, you get up, you exercise, and you do what you're supposed to do. Like, a lot of times the answer is very obvious, but we don't see people's processes. We just see the results. You know, we just see what they want us to see. Like in my case, you know, obviously I'm very much into makeup. So I follow a lot of makeup gurus, a lot. And whenever you look at pictures of these girls in makeup, it's just, they look unreal. These girls with these beautiful lips and these beautiful eyes and this beautiful skin. And for someone like me, who is not a professional makeup artist, who is just an enthusiast and just loves the idea of makeup, I see those things and I'm like, well, how could I possibly put myself online and compare myself to these girls and be to their level? But the reality is that, and this is something that I didn't come up on my own, this is something that my therapist had to tell me, is that I can't compare myself to those girls. I am not going to be up to those to that girl level. And that's okay, because I am in a different level. I'm in a different place in my life, and my niche is not that. You know, my niche doesn't have to be this perfect, airbrushed, beautiful girl that everybody wants to look like and whatever. My niche is just, you know, I'm a woman in her 30s who works a regular job and she likes to paint herself, and this is how she does it. That's it. That's it. I'm a everyday person who is a fan of a thing, and I'm going to enjoy that thing. And then when I look at my feed of all these beautiful makeup gurus with their beautiful skin and their beautiful faces, I can look at them and not try to see myself in that position, but look at them and just be like, that is a beautiful woman, or that's a beautiful man. Look at that makeup, is so beautiful. The brush strokes, everything. Look at that. Double tap. Keep going. And then upload my video on YouTube. That's it. So essentially, I believe that what we need to do is just enjoy our process. You know, once you reach your 30s, like I said, nothing happens. Your life continues. You're going to continue to wake up. You're going to continue to do what you do. And you still have plenty of time to do whatever it is that you want to do. And if you need motivation to do it, then take this as your motivation to do it. Just do it. Like that meme. Just do it. You know, you have to enjoy the process of what it is that you're doing. You know, I know that a lot of us, me included, we get very impatient and very desperate to see results. And it's like, well, I've been doing this thing for so long and I'm not seeing the results that other people are obviously seeing. What's going on? Is something wrong with me? And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that your process takes a little bit longer than theirs. But that doesn't mean that your final product is going to be any less good or any less worthy. You just have to learn how to live in that moment and enjoy that process for what it is, and stop comparing your journey to somebody else's, because you don't know what they're going through. They don't know what you're going through. And that's that. And also, you know, don't judge other people. Don't judge other people's process and other people's journey, because social media is bullshit. Okay? And people lie. People put pretty pictures, pretty filters, pretty captions to get the likes and to get the attention. But that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's what people do. But just don't go based off of that. Don't believe that because a person is doing something that they're successful and rich and happy and they can't ask for nothing, because you don't know. You don't know. This was a lot of ramble. But I hope that, you know, it helps somebody. I mean, I know that these kind of things, I say them, but I'm listening to myself, because these are things that I have to learn myself. These are truths that I have to live by, because it's very easy for you to spiral out of control in that, you know, circle of not considering yourself worthy and feeling really down on yourself. And working on self-esteem is very difficult, but it is a process and you have to take it slow. And I hope that I could help someone. And again, if anybody has any tips or any kind of comments or thoughts about what I spoke about today, please leave them in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video, which will be the last video of this week. See you guys.